Right.
Well, Trevor, as we've got you in front of the microphone, could you kind of give me a word picture of the four boys in the group, a description of who they are and what they do?
Yeah, well, we're a pretty sort of standard setup, really. Lead guitar, rhythm guitar, bass and drums, but we sort of dodge around a bit. Our bass player plays saxophones and flutes, you know. And they're all brilliant musicians, of course.
You still haven't mentioned it by name.
Sorry, well, it's Eddie Wheeler is on lead guitar. Eddie's
Well, Trevor, as we've got you in front of the microphone, could you kind of give me a word picture of the four boys in the group, a description of who they are and what they do?
Yeah, well, we're a pretty sort of standard setup, really. Lead guitar, rhythm guitar, bass and drums, but we sort of dodge around a bit. Our bass player plays saxophones and flutes, you know. And they're all brilliant musicians, of course.
You still haven't mentioned it by name.
Sorry, well, it's Eddie Wheeler is on lead guitar. Eddie's had a pretty sort of flowered career. Dates right back to the beginnings of the Beatles. You know, he was on the early Beatles tours and backing people like Barry Ryan and Crispin St. Peters, and you know. Well, I'm sure a lot of the younger people remember him, and John Layton, who. And all those kind of people, yeah. And then Bernie is the bass player, Bernie Hagley. He's been around a bit. He's done America and with a band called Tranquility and another band called Jonesy, and had a lot of experience in the business. And Mark, we found him penniless actually around Piccadilly Circus, and he's still penniless, and he still hangs around Piccadilly. No, I'm kidding. Right, that's right. He comes from Dunfermline originally. That's right, isn't it, Mark? He's a fifer, what they call a fly fifer, and he's the drummer, and a reasonably good drummer, I suppose you could say.
By.
Yeah, he gets by. No, he's had a lot of experience on doing sessions and working with quite a lot of bands and so on. You know, we all date back to the beginnings of time. You know, we've all been everywhere and done everything. So, hello, Ivy, and and me, I'm more or less the same as the others. I've been in the band from the very beginning, you know, and my history is the history of Vanity Fare. So that's it, really, in a nutshell.
So when did you all four come together, first of all?
We've been sort of together now for, I suppose, about 5 years now, actually. Eddie's pointing out things here for me to say, with white suits, warm harmonies, and a slightly different spelling. No, I'm reading out our biography here, and I better not do that. That'll take too long. Yeah. No, we've been together now for about 5 years, as we are now, sort of thing. You know, obviously groups change, but fortunately we haven't changed as much as most. You know, we're still fairly original. You know.
How did the name Vanity Fare come about?
Well, there's no story to that, to be honest. We were called the Sages before 1968, and we hadn't got any sort of recording success up to then. And we did I Live for the Sun, which was the first record we had with Page One Records, as it was then. And they didn't particularly like the name The Sages, and we were just sitting in an office, and there was some books around, and somebody looked up and saw Thackeray's Vanity Fair, you know, and said, how about Vanity Fair? So we said, oh, well, this is as good a name as any, and that was it. You know, there wasn't any real reason for it.
You mentioned I Live for the Sun. Was that in your Beach Boy days? You were more Beach Boys than you are now?
Yeah, I suppose it was, yeah, really. I don't think we ever were really Beach Boys, but we were always influenced by them. And when we first started, lots of people were saying, which annoyed us intensely, because it was very difficult to do it. They were saying Britain's answer to the Beach Boys, you know, which I suppose is an obvious thing. But, you know, I mean, when people say, I mean, we respect the Beach Boys tremendously, and I don't think at that time we could have held a light to the Beach Boys, quite honestly. And
it's not very complimentary either. It always
a second rate, yeah, probably. But it was difficult to not to get rid of. I mean, obviously, in a way, it was a compliment, I suppose. But we wanted to try and keep that, but get rid of it at the same time. Make our own line, which I think we've succeeded in doing after a while.
You don't do any of their numbers, do you?
No, I don't. Why should we do this?
Well, I do.
What, Live for the Sun?
Yeah.
Well, funnily enough, it was originally a Beach Boys thing, loosely speaking, because there was a bloke, now what was his name now? Ricky Henn, his name was, Cluck, and he used to be in the Beach Boys before they were ever famous, before they ever made records or anything, and he wrote this song, but the Beach Boys never wanted to record it. He was actually a member of them at the time, and he was so upset by this that he left the band, and his father formed another band with him and various other people. His father was the manager, and they recorded I Live for the Sun. They recorded The Sun Rays, and this was in America in about 1964 or something like that, I think, and it was in fact a hit in the States at that time, and we just it was a song that the manager we had at the time, he just, I don't know, he'd always fancied recording it. It had never been released in England, fancied doing it with somebody, and we came along, and he hadn't got any other groups that could sing at the time, so we did it, and that was that, really.
Then after that it was Early in the Morning.
Well, after that we had two records which didn't do too well in England but did quite well elsewhere. That was I Remember Summer Morning and Highway of Dreams, which were quite big sellers in America and Japan. And then we had Early in the Morning, which was a worldwide sort of hit for us. And then Hitching a Ride, which was an even bigger one.
Have you ever had any confusion over Early in the Morning, because there are two songs by that title? Can you sing the Silvercrest song?
Yeah, no, they haven't. I know the one you mean. Yeah, no, funnily enough, I suppose it would be quite reasonable to expect that, but no, they haven't. No.
How did you come upon Hitching a Ride then?
That was written by Mitch Murray and Peter Callender, yeah, and that was just a song that was sent in to us by them. Success breeds success. We'd just had a hit, and so when you've had a hit, everybody wants you to record their songs. So we had a whole pile of stuff to go through, and that was just one that they sent in, and we chose it to do.
When you're looking for new material, do you commission songs? Do you ask songwriters to write songs especially for you, or do you just take what comes along?
Well, when at our stage at the moment, it's quite hard for us because we've not had a hit for some time. Obviously, the ideal thing is to write a song yourself and have a hit with it, because you make twice as much money, at least, and that is the way we're aiming at the moment. As yet, we haven't come up with one that we consider to be good enough for a single, or commercial enough for a single, but that's what we want to do. At the moment, we've got various people who are writing, friends and other people that we know through other people that are writing, and they're sending us things that we're listening to, and we're starting to do some original things for stage at the moment, with the hope that we'll come up with one that we reckon will be a good single, nothing really specific.
This new single that you've got coming out, is a rather strange choice of a night day.
Well, when we say it's a new single, in actual fact, it's a slight exaggeration, because, well, it's not an exaggeration, it's less the opposite of that, whatever that is, because we've done three, you see. That's only one of them, and we're not quite sure whether we'll choose that one or not, you see. There are two others, but they are original songs, the other two, so we don't include them in the act, because it's very difficult to get original songs over in a cabaret show. People don't want to listen to original material. And so we use that one and say that is going to be it, but it may well not be,
The thing is, nobody knows what we're talking about. It's Will You Love Me Too.
Oh, right, sorry, yeah.
Originally a great big hit to the Shirelles, and it's been done by so many people, including Cliff Richard and Dusty Springfield, down through the ages.
Yeah.
Do you think it's...
We thought that the treatment of it was slightly different from what in fact, quite a lot different from what everybody else had done. Eddie did the arrangement on it, and there's a few sort of quite unusual vocal things in it, which we thought might come over. But who knows, maybe people don't listen to that sort of thing. I think maybe it might be right for an album, or who knows,
It would be right for the disco scene, and that's what sells a lot of records.
We did it in a rhythm which apparently is the present vogue in discos, which Mark does a very good impression of. Can you do it? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but you've got tempo changes in it.
Hello, Ivy. How are you, darling? Oh, right, yeah.
You've got tempo changes in it as well, which break it up.
Right, yeah, which defeats the object on career.
What are the other two songs?
Well, you wouldn't know them because nobody's ever heard them before. One, I don't know. Can you describe it?
Yeah, well, one of them is called Singer in a Rock and Roll Band. That's the name of one of them. And
That's a Moody Blues song.
No. It's
They've never been recorded.
It's all about, when we heard it sounded like our life story, It's all about being in a band and playing and all that. And it's a sort of Creedence Clearwater type of thing. It's a rocky sort of thing, you know, which is different to what we've done in the past. Another one's it's a ballad, a sort of gospel-y type of thing, you know. It's in 3/4 time, and that's the other one. And well, we can't make our mind up which is the one yet. You know.
When do you reckon this?
At the moment, we're sort of leaving it to other people to make their mind up because we've got it with 3 different companies at the moment, and so you know, if they say we want this one, that's the one we'll do. You know, we'll leave it to them.
Now you've had hits all over the world. You've toured all over the world. Is there any one particular country that you like playing in, apart from Britain, of course?
Well, I think we've all got our favourites, you know, and favourite towns in different countries, but I think probably unanimously it's Australia.
For any particular reason?
I don't know, it's so different from everywhere else, you know. We've been to the States, and I loved it actually in America, you know, it was really great over there, we had a fabulous time, and everything was great, you know. But in Australia, I think what it was in Australia, we had quite a lot of free time, which maybe influenced us quite a bit, and we were able to see a lot of things and get out in the bush and sightsee and see the kangaroos and go on the beaches and all that stuff. So in fact it was a bit of a holiday really. So possibly that's why we enjoyed it so much. You know, whereas in America we went there when we had 2 records in the charts in the States, and like, it was really go the whole time. We didn't even sleep, you know, for 6 weeks. It was just, so we didn't really get much chance to enjoy that.
The majority of the people in the hospital only know you because of Hitching a Ride early in the morning.
Sure,
and what have you.
yeah.
So they don't really know what Vanity Fair are all about, and really you're just another group in the same way as Led Zeppelin and the Bay City Rollers are 2 other groups, and they're not really aware of musical differences between those 2 groups. How would you describe Vanity Fair? If you wanted to encourage a group of people to come along and say on Saturday night to the High Post Hotel.
Oh dear. I don't know really.
What kind of bag do you fall into?
That's the difficult thing. I don't know if we do. I mean, we go quite far along one way, and then we don't really go all the way, and we go along another way. I mean, like we wear white suits, and we sort of we have a kind of a cabaret show. We sort of try and make contact with the audience and things like that. But at the same time, we don't like to be sort of wishy-washy with the music. We did used to be that actually. We used to be very sort of peaches and cream, you know, with our type of music we played. But I think we've got much harder over the years with the way we play. You know, the singing anyway is a lot fuller, and everything is a lot fuller than it ever was before. You know, more musical. I used to think once upon a time that we used to be a bit sort of Three Dog Night type-ish. But then again, we're a bit of Hollies, and we're sort of a little bit of the Four Seasons, and a little bit of Rubbish, and you know, like all sorts of things thrown in together, and you know, it's very difficult.
You dig a lot of songs out of way back, like Marcel's Blue Moon, but you don't sing very many which are 1976.
No.
Any particular reason for that?
Well, because most of the people that have made the hits now are kind of our competition, you know, and so why should we sing their numbers if they don't sing ours?
That's a good enough reason. Marcel's no longer around.
No, right. And the thing is that, I mean, we only recently started to do this big nostalgia thing, and it really seems popular. Well, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't have to be older people either that you're playing to. You know, I mean, with the real young kids, they really seem to love all the old stuff.
Yeah.
And we like playing it because that's the period that we really came from anyway, and so we sort of remember it first time round, whereas some of the kids that you're playing to, you know, it's new to them now, you know. So that, you know, that's how it is.
Can we hope to see you on television soon?
Well, you know, the problem with television is records. These days, it's very hard to do TV without a hit, you know. So if we're lucky enough to ever have another hit, then yes, you know, you'll see us on television. But unless, you know, you know, very hard.
Well, we keep our fingers crossed for both happenings, and best of luck. Where are you off to after this?
We finish here on Saturday, and we've got a day off where we're going to go back to Kent for a day, and then we start in Oldham on Monday. We're there for a week.
That's a long way away. I can't imagine any of our staff going up there, but you never know.
No, you can't tell.
If they saw the show here, I think they might be tempted to go back up to Oldham to see you again.
Very kind.
Excellent.
Thank you.
An excellent show. Thank you very much indeed for your time, all four of you.
Thank you.
And best of luck.
And special goodbye to Ivy.
Thanks a lot. And all these by night.
This is Vanity Fair wishing you all a very Merry Christmas! Oh, Happy New Year!